In a world where everyone is desperate to be heard, the person who holds back becomes the most powerful. Silence unsettles people because it refuses to compete for attention. It demands patience, and that alone commands respect. The smartest individuals don't reveal their thoughts immediately. They allow others to talk, to expose their intentions, to show their emotional state. Silence becomes their shield and their sharpest tool for reading people. When you speak too soon, you surrender control. But when you wait, when you listen carefully, you begin to notice what others miss: the lies, the fear, the ego hidden between words. Observation begins where silence lives. Nietzsche understood that silence is not weakness, it's depth. He believed that those who speak the least often think the most. They are not empty, but overflowing with insight, just waiting for the right moment to be heard. There is a psychological weight to silence. It creates space, tension, and curiosity. People lean in, wondering what you're thinking. They fill the gap with their assumptions, while you remain calm, centered, and unreadable. A person who does not rush to speak gains time to understand, to feel the energy of the room, to catch patterns in behavior. The louder someone talks, the easier they are to read. The quieter you become, the more power you gain. Quick reactions often come from insecurity, but silence shows maturity. You're not here to win every argument, you're here to win understanding. And that kind of victory can't be rushed, only earned through patience. Most people are terrified of silence. They'll say anything to escape it. But when you stay silent, they expose more than they intend. Their discomfort becomes a spotlight on their character, while you remain untouchable. The world respects what it cannot predict, and silence makes you unpredictable. It makes people question what you know, what you think, and what you might do next. You gain influence without uttering a word. There is a discipline in not speaking. When emotions rise and chaos surrounds you, silence becomes a test of strength. It separates those who are reactive from those who are strategic, and strategy always wins in the long game. You don't always need to speak to be understood. Your silence can make others reflect, doubt, and reconsider. It forces them to face their own thoughts, and in that quiet mirror, many discover truths they were running from. Nietzsche believed in the strength of the inner world. Silence connects you to it. When you stop speaking just to respond, you begin to listen to your deeper self, and that voice is often more powerful than anything spoken aloud. Every room has a rhythm, a pulse. When you're silent, you feel it. You pick up on who's insecure, who's pretending, who's leading. You don't have to fight for control. You simply wait until it naturally shifts in your favor. People equate silence with weakness because they don't understand it. But silence is the ultimate form of control. You control yourself first, and by doing so, you often end up controlling the entire environment. Speaking gives people material to use against you, but silence offers them nothing. They're left to guess, to wonder, to overthink, and that confusion becomes the ground on which you quietly build your strength. When you master silence, you master timing. You don't just respond, you choose the perfect moment to speak, to move, to act. And when you do, your words land like thunder because they are rare, deliberate, and intentional. There's a kind of silence that feels heavy. It carries confidence. It doesn't ask for attention, it commands it. The room slows down when you enter, not because of what you say, but because of the energy you carry without words. This is Nietzsche's lesson. Power isn't loud. It's thoughtful, patient, composed. The strongest minds are not the ones shouting their opinions. They are the ones sitting in silence, seeing everything, missing nothing. The moment you stop reacting and start observing, the world opens itself to you. People are constantly showing their fears, desires, and weaknesses. You only have to watch closely to see it. Observation is not passive, it's active intelligence. The smartest people don't rush to prove themselves. They gather invisible details that most overlook, gaining quiet advantage over time. Every person reveals more than they realize. Their body language, tone, timing, and gaze betray what their words try to hide. Silence gives you space to read these unspoken truths. Nietzsche believed that what's visible is only the surface. The real nature of people lies underneath. And to access it, you need more than knowledge. You need awareness sharpened by stillness. Social dynamics are like hidden chessboards. People are making moves constantly, some aggressive, others defensive. If you observe without rushing, their strategies become clear. The power of watching isn't just in gathering information, it's in gaining foresight. You start to see the next move before it happens, because patterns reveal themselves to the patient. Silence turns your senses up. You start to notice small hesitations, fake smiles, overreactions. These are signs of hidden insecurity, and once you see them, you cannot unsee them. Most people observe to judge, but the wise observe to understand. That subtle difference is what makes you unpredictable, because understanding removes the need to react emotionally. While others try to dominate conversations, the smartest person in the room is quietly studying the flow. Who talks the most? Who seeks approval? Who hides behind confidence? The more you watch, the more you learn how fragile most egos are. One small pause, one silent stare can shake someone more than any argument ever could. There is immense clarity in stepping back. When you aren't rushing to speak, you see power games more clearly, how people interrupt, who defers, who uses silence against others. Nietzsche wrote about masks, the identities people wear to function in society. Observation lets you see when those masks slip, even for a moment, and that moment is everything. To win in any environment, you don't need to dominate, you need to perceive. Perception gives you the timing, the tone, and the truth of what's really going on beneath appearances. The person who can see through words and into motives holds power, and that power is earned not by speaking, but by paying attention when everyone else is distracted. Strategic observation means not reacting to provocation. People will test you, bait you, try to pull you out of silence. The true observer watches calmly and gains ground while doing nothing. Some of the greatest thinkers didn't win with volume. They won with insight. They knew how to notice what others ignored and how to act on what was invisible to most. Observation turns every interaction into information. You start seeing who people are, not by what they say, but by what they repeat, avoid, or emphasize without meaning to. This is how the smartest people win, not by showing off, but by seeing deeper. Nietzsche's wisdom reminds us, the one who watches in silence learns what the world tries to hide. Timing is the hidden force behind every powerful move. The smartest people don't just say the right things. They wait for the exact moment when silence breaks and the world is ready to listen. In the rush to respond, most people lose control. But those who pause, reflect, and act precisely, those are the ones who shift conversations, influence minds, and leave a lasting impression. There is a difference between reacting and responding. Reaction is impulsive. Response is chosen. The smartest people create space between the moment and the decision. That space is power. Nietzsche believed that wisdom is not just what you know, but when you reveal it. Knowledge spoken too early is ignored. Spoken too late, it's useless. The right moment gives it sharpness. A single phrase delivered at the right time can shift the energy of an entire room. That's why the wise wait. They don't chase attention. They time their entry so attention chases them. In silence, you gain rhythm. You begin to sense when a conversation is ready to turn, when a person is about to crack, or when a moment demands truth instead of noise. The loudest voice in the room is often the least prepared. The silent one listens, calculates, and speaks only when the impact will echo. Timing is how they multiply their influence. Most people waste their words, but the disciplined thinker uses silence to sharpen language. Their speech feels heavy because it's rare, and rarity, timed well, feels like authority. Nietzsche warned us, speaking too soon is a symptom of ego. The wise are not eager to prove. They are eager to understand. When they do speak, it is with certainty and consequence. Strategic timing builds anticipation. When you withhold just long enough, people lean forward. They wonder what you're about to say, and that curiosity gives your voice more weight. Sometimes the strongest move is to wait. While others fall over themselves to be heard, you hold back, and when the noise fades, your message becomes the only one that matters. Even silence must be timed. Too short and it's ignored. Too long and it becomes awkward. But when mastered, a pause between words can strike harder than the words themselves. Timing in conversation is like rhythm in music. You don't need to play every note. You just need to strike the ones that move the room and leave space for the silence to breathe. In arguments, those who respond too quickly lose clarity, but the person who waits, even for a beat, gains control of the tempo. And control of tempo is control of emotion. A well-timed silence can expose weakness. When someone expects a response and gets none, they begin to question themselves. That moment of doubt is where the smart gain control. Nietzsche understood the psychological power of restraint. Not everything needs to be said immediately. Some truths grow more powerful in silence before they're finally released. The smartest people study energy, not just words. They feel when someone is opening up, when a room is shifting. Their timing is guided not by habit, but by heightened awareness. Timing is not just a tactic, it's a form of intelligence. It shows maturity, discipline, and presence. And those who master it rarely need to raise their voice to be heard. Nietzsche didn't just talk about power, he urged us to become powerful through self-mastery. His wisdom isn't theory, it's a strategy for living. He believed that the strongest individuals didn't dominate through noise, but by understanding themselves deeply and controlling their instincts. To apply his wisdom, start by realizing this. You don't owe the world your reactions. You owe yourself your peace and control. When you feel provoked, don't lash out. Nietzsche's advice? Observe. Your silence is more unsettling than your anger. He taught that power begins by mastering one's emotions. The louder the world becomes, the more powerful your restraint is. Try this. When everyone else speaks first, wait. Let others reveal themselves while you learn quietly in the background. Strategic silence is not passivity, it's selective presence. You're choosing when to appear and when to disappear. In conversations, ask more and say less. You'll find that silence often forces people to fill the void with their own truth. This is how the smartest people win, not through domination, but through positioning. Let them act. You decide when to respond. Nietzsche believed that self-control was a higher strength than brute force. To stay silent is to signal you're above the noise. In arguments, don't compete for the final word. Step back. The silence you leave behind is often more haunting than anything you could say. Silence forces others to confront themselves. It reveals their insecurities while you remain unshaken. Nietzsche didn't want followers. He wanted creators. Think of your silence not as escape, but as the foundation of something new. Every time you choose patience over reaction, you step into the arena of mastery. This is where true influence is built. Your presence should make people pause, not because you demand it, but because your silence forces them to listen. A person who doesn't speak unless necessary becomes unforgettable. Nietzsche called this the strength of restraint, command without force. Apply this in everyday life, meetings, conflict, negotiation. Your quiet confidence will say more than 100 words ever could. Nietzsche's silence wasn't weakness, it was rebellion. And when you learn to speak only when it truly matters, you win without ever raising your voice.